Native American cultures before 1300. Enduring understanding. The indigenous Americas have among the oldest art traditions in the world. Essential knowledge. Ancient American can be divided into many cultural and historical groupings, both in North and South America. Art in these regions is often animal-based, feathers, hides, etc., and used in shamanistic rituals. Art carved from stone is also important. We have the Archaic period from 3500 to 1500 BCE. Pre-classic period is 1800 BCE to 250 CE, including Olmec, Teotihuacan, Tlatelolco, Maya, Zapotec. Classic period 150 to 650 CE, Teotihuacan, Mayan. The Epiclassic period 650 to 900 CE, Mayan and Toltec. Post-classic period is 900 to 1519 CE, which is the Toltec, Aztec, Mexica, Metec, and the Mayan. Early sites in Mesopotamia. Enduring understanding. Mesoamerican art from Mexico to Guatemala, Honduras, and Belize is characterized by architectural structures such as pyramids, a strong influence of astronomy and calendars on ritual objects, and great value is placed on green objects such as jade or feathers. Essential knowledge. Pyramids began as earthworks and then grew into multi-level structures. Sites were often added to over many years. Most architecture is made of stone using the post and lintel system and faced with painted sculpture. There are usually large plazas before the pyramids. Sculpture relates the deeds of rulers and epic stories of the gods. Artists generally worked under a united vision in a workshop. The audience for art could be an entire city or an intimate religious circumstance. Mesoamericans have had an influence on the Spanish who occupied the area both commercially and artistically. Mesoamerican objects were valued and treasured in Europe by connoisseurs and collectors, increased the recognition of their value today, and led to a greater understanding of their contribution to the world of art. The Olmec, Colossal Head, La Venta, Mexico, circa 900 to 400 BCE, basalt. It's made of basalt. It's 9 feet and 4 inches high. The Olmecs studied astronomy and developed a system of writing and mathematics. They were the first Mesoamerican culture to build pyramids. Their calendar and religious beliefs appear to have influenced later cultures. In fact, many scholars call the Olmecs the mother culture of Mesoamerica. The Olmecs created long-distance trade routes to obtain the things they needed, eventually making contacts all the way from the Valley of Mexico to Central America. These extensive trade networks spread Olmec culture far and wide, spreading Olmec influence throughout Mesoamerica. This is a jade votive axe, ceremonial axe in the form of a maize god from La Venta, Mexico, 900 to 400 BCE, made of jadeite, 11.5 inches tall. The Olmec fashioned votive axes in the form of figures carved from jade, jadeite, serpentine, and other green stones. The figures have a large head and a small, stocky body that narrows into a blade shape. They combine features of a human and other animals such as jaguar, eagle, or toad. The mouth is slightly opened with a flaring upper lip and the corners turned down. The flaming eyebrows seen on this example are also a recurrent feature and have been interpreted as a representation of the crest of the harpy eagle. Most axes, including this one, have a pronounced cleft in the middle of the head. This cleft has been interpreted by scholars variously as the open fontanelle or soft spot on the crown of newborn babies, the deep groove in the skull of male jaguars, or that found in the head of certain species of toads. In some instances, vegetation sprouts out of some of them. These combinations of human and animal traits and representations of supernatural beings are common in Olmec art. Aerial view of Teotihuacan looking south, Mexico. Pyramid of the Moon, foreground. Pyramid of the Sun, center left, and the Ciudadela is in the top left, all connected by the Avenue of the Dead. These are the main structures, circa 50 to 250 CE. The Avenue of the Dead is running on a north-south axis. and it's the city's main street known today as the Avenue of the Dead. It's from a later Aztec name. It runs for more than 2 miles and contains 3 major pyramid complexes. Pyramid of the Moon. At the northern end of the avenue is the Pyramid of the Moon from an Aztec name. Recent research suggests it was built in stages between 1 AD and 350 AD. It started off as a small platform and eventually became a 150-foot high pyramid with a base of 550 feet by 490 feet. Its elevated platforms were likely used for rituals that could be witnessed by people on the ground. Tombs found associated with the structure contain both human and animal sacrifices along with grave goods such as obsidian and greenstone. Pyramid of the Sun, looking northeast, Teotihuacan, Mexico, 1st century CE. Less than half a mile south of the Pyramid of the Moon is the Pyramid of the Sun. At the height of more than 200 feet and a base of more than 730 feet long on each side, this pyramid is one of the largest structures created in the pre-Columbian New World. It would have been completed around 200 AD. In 1971, an archaeological team discovered a tunnel underneath the pyramid, its entrance located near the Avenue of the Dead. And they dug out the fill in the tunnel, finding that it terminated in a clover leaf-shaped chamber which sadly had been looted in antiquity. The cave was likely used for rituals of some kind. Another discovery was a small treasure trove of offerings that may date to when the construction of the pyramid began. Among the items found was a green serpentine mask that may have been a portrait of an ancient individual. Temple of the Feathered Serpent, top, looking southeast. The Ciudadela Teotihuacan, Mexico, 3rd century CE. Located south of the Pyramid of the Sun is the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, also known as La Ciudadela, a name Spanish conquistadors gave it. The focal point of this monument is a 6-stepped pyramid, smaller than the other 2 examples on the Avenue of the Dead. 2 apartment compounds located nearby may have been inhabited by local elites. The pyramid is believed to have been completed sometime in the 3rd century AD. Cut in low relief on the structure are alternating heads showing Quetzalcoatl, a feathered serpent god, and a being that appears to be Tlaloc, an ancient storm god. Found near the pyramid are the burials of about 200 people. Many of them were young men, and the grave offerings suggest that they were warriors, possibly Teotihuacan's own. The fact that many of them were found with their wrists crossed behind their backs suggests that they had been tied up and for some reason sacrificed. Young women and a few older men were also found with offerings. Goddess, wall painting in the Tititla apartment complex at Teotihuacan, Mexico, 650 to 750 CE. Pigments over clay and plaster. Teotihuacan is well known for its colorful murals painted on plastered walls. They can be found in the city's many apartment compounds as well as on other buildings identified as palaces and temples. Among the motifs that can be seen are images of the storm god Tlaloc, as well as a deity that scholars call the Great Goddess, likely associated with agricultural fertility. Other motifs include birds, jaguars, coyotes, owls, and feathered serpent. A priest perhaps performing a bloodletting rite, a mural painting from Teotihuacan, Mexico, circa 600 to 700 CE, pigments over clay and plaster, 2 feet and 8.5 inches by 3 feet and 9.5 inches. This richly dressed elite male belonged to a row of identical figures who processed along the walls of a patio in one of Teotihuacan's wealthy apartment compounds. He offers a chant or prayer, materialized in a mouth scroll, along with a flower-filled libation that cascades from one hand. In the other, he carries an incense bag. The thorny spines of the maguey cactus in front and behind may allude to the offering of precious blood and a ritual beverage made from the cactus's sap, pulque, a less refined form of tequila. The spines are thrust into objects that may represent bundles or plots of land. Mayan art. Mayan sculpture is easy to recognize because of the unusual Mayan concept of ideal beauty. The model seems to have been a figure with an arching brow, with an indentation above the nose filled in as a continuous bridge between forehead and nose. Most well-to-do Mayans put their children in head braces to create this symbol of beauty if the child was not born with it. Facial types are long and narrow with full lips and mouths ready to speak. It is common to see figures elaborately dressed with costumes composed of feathers, jade, and jaguar skin. The Mayans preferred narrative art done in relief sculpture. Their relief work has crisp outlines with little attention given to modeling. Mayan sculpture is typically related to architectural monuments, lintels, facades, jambs, and so on. Figures of gods are stylized and placed in conventional hieratic poses, possessing symbols of beauty, most notably tattooing and crossed eyes. Most Mayan sculptures were painted. A typical work that appears everywhere in Mayan cities is the shakmul, a figure that is half sitting and half lying on his back. The unusual pose of the figure is balanced by the face, which turns 90 degrees from the body. Elbows firmly rest on the ground, lending a sloping sense to the body. On his stomach is a plate, which has made some scholars deduce that the figure was meant to receive offerings. Sculptures such as these influenced modern artists such as Henry Moore. Mayan pyramids are set in wide plazas as a center of civic focus. Grandly proportioned temples accompany pyramids, although their interiors are narrow and tall, giving a certain claustrophobic effect enhanced by the use of corbelled vaulting. Temples had long roof combs on the roof to accentuate their verticality. Stele D, portraying ruler 13, Great Plaza, Copan, Honduras, Mayan culture 736 CE, made of stone, 11 feet 9 inches tall. The Maya of Copan, Honduras, used Stele D as its altar and the surrounding structures as a sundial to record time. Archaeological investigations show that wooden posts and stelae could have been used to measure time and to perform associated rites in the northern sector of the main plaza. The shadows cast at different times of day and on different dates of the year were studied, such as solstices, equinoxes, and solar zenith passages. The size and orientation of the shadows may have served as a time marker that ancient residents of Copan used to accurately track the tropical year. Evidence found that supports the iconographic interpretation of an analogy between serpents' bodies that adorn the figure of the ruler on Stele D and the shadows in some positions on dates of major solar events that form a solar calendar that counts years from winter solstice day. Temple 1, Temple of the Giant Jaguar, Great Plaza, Tikal, Guatemala. It's Mayan culture circa 734 CE. The Temple of the Jaguar, or Templo 1, is probably Tikal's finest and most dominating monument, with its 9 tiers representing the 9 levels of the underworld and raising its temple to an imposing 37 meters above the spacious central plaza below. The architectural style typifies monumental Tikal with its steep sloping tiers, taluds, topped with a triple chambered temple and majestic roof cone. Temple 1 was built in around 732 AD and signified a break from the traditional funerary building within the adjacent North Acropolis. The temple is commonly called the Temple of the Jaguar because of an exquisitely carved lintel found in the temple structure on top of the pyramid, which was made from sapodilla wood and depicts a king sat upon a jaguar throne. The temple has also been dubbed the Temple of Al-Kakao, following the discovery of a burial within the pyramid structure of a ruler. The tomb featured a large masonry bench on which the king was laid to rest, covered in jade jewelry, and the chamber was filled with funerary goods, including spondylus shells, pearls, mirrors, jaguar skins, jadeite objects, and painted ceramics. A set of 37 finely carved human bones were found piled at the king's right foot. The bones were inscribed with hieroglyphic text which described allegiances with Copan and Palenque, the king's name and parentage. a portrait of captive called Ox-Ha-Ixil from the enemy city of Calakmul, and scenes of the maize deity being carried to the canoe. Yaxchilan, a significant Maya center. Yaxchilan is located at the south bank of the Usumacinta River in Chiapas, Mexico. It was a significant Mayan center during the Classic period 250 to 900 CE, and a number of its buildings stand to this day. Many of the exteriors had elaborate decorations, but it is the carved stone lintels above their doorways that have made this site famous. These lintels, commissioned by the rulers of the city, provide a lengthy dynastic record in both text and image. Lintels 24, 25, and 26, set above the three doorways of structure 23, depict a series of rituals performed by Shield Jaguar II and his wife. Structure 21, commissioned by Bird Jaguar IV, housed lintels 15, 16, 17. Bird Jaguar was Yaxchilan's most prolific builder, and at least a dozen major structures were initiated or remodeled during his reign. In this lintel, the Bird Jaguar IV dominates a captive. Scenes representing the public display of captives occur frequently in Mayan art. Capture of sacrificial victims was an essential aspect of Mayan warfare, as they were necessary for many rituals. Ascension rituals, for example, entailed the offering of dedicatory human sacrifices to mark the enthronement of a new ruling lord. Political and religious significance of this ritual for Mayan rulers. Bloodletting was a form of sacrifice that was expected of Mayan rulers and was associated with ceremonies of renewal and rebirth. The Maya believed that their gods sacrificed divine blood to create humankind. In return, the Mayan were expected to make blood sacrifices to the gods to maintain the order of the universe. Bloodletting rituals connected Maya royals to the sacred sphere and legitimized their social and political positions as divinely sanctioned rulers. Bloodletting rituals were also performed by other Maya elites and religious leaders. Bloodletting took place at every major political and religious ceremony because it was a means by which the gods or ancestors could be present to sanctify the event. Lady Zhuk's central role in this bloodletting ritual would have legitimized Shield Jaguar's reign and reinforced her power as a primary wife and queen. This assertion was perhaps necessary because it was through Lady Zhuk and her lineage that Shield Jaguar was able to justify his claim to the throne. Shield Jaguar and Lady Zhuk, lintel 24 of structure 23, Yaxchilan, Mexico, Mayan, 723 to 726 CE, limestone, 3 feet and 7 inches by 2 feet and 6.5 inches. This limestone lintel, considered one of the masterpieces of Mayan art, is one of a series of 3 panels from structure 23 at Yaxchilan, where it was set above the left, south, east doorway. Lintel 24 is carved limestone lintel. It's showing a bloodletting ritual performed by the king of Yaxchilan, Shield Jaguar II, and his wife, Lady Zhuk. The king holds a flaming torch over his wife, who is pulling a thorny rope through her tongue. Scrolls of blood can be seen around her mouth. The lintel would have been painted and has traces of red and blue pigment. The first 2 glyphs in the text at the top of the lintel indicate the event and date on which it took place, AD 709. The last glyph represents the emblem glyph, that is, the city name in Maya hieroglyphs of Yaxchilan. The text on the left of the panel contains the name and titles of Lady Zhuk. Lady Cabal Zhuk pulling a thorned rope through her tongue. This is a detail of Yaxchilan lintel 24. Lady Zhuk pulls the thorned rope through her tongue in a principal form of blood sacrifice performed by royal women. The rope falls on an open codex. Her pierced tongue allowed her blood to flow as part of a ritual communication with gods and spirits. This sacrifice mirrored the Mayan story of creation when the gods let their blood to create the human race. By choosing to take part in the ritual, the queen demonstrated both her moral and physical strength to the people and her suitability as a Maya ruler. Scrolls of blood can be seen around her mouth. She kneels in front of Shil Jaguar, who holds a great torch, described in the text as a burning spear, illuminating a ritual that was probably held at night or set in the dark recess of a private chamber. Shil Jaguar detail, Yaxchilan lintel 24. Both the king and queen are richly attired with sun god pectorals. The human head worn by Shil Jaguar over his brow may have been a shrunken battle trophy. Bloodletting was a common practice in Mayan life from the late pre-classic period, 400 BCE to 250 CE onwards, and an essential part of rulership and of all public rituals. The Maya elite drew blood from various parts of their bodies using lancets made of stingray spine, flint, bone, or obsidian. These objects are often found in burials and other archaeological contexts, though other perishable materials like the rope and the bark paper strips seen on the lintel are now lost. The site of Yaxchilan was only rediscovered in the 19th century as it stood in the midst of a dense tropical forest, and the Maya glyphs only began to be translated in the 1960s. Lintel 25, Temple 23, depicts Lady Zhuk and her vision of an ancestor emerging from the mouth of a serpent. Lady Zhuk is making contact with the spirit called forth by her blood sacrifice. She is dressed in an ornately patterned hupil trimmed in fringe and pearls, as well as sun god pectoral, jade wristlets, and an intricate headdress. A vision serpent rises from bloodied bark paper. From one of the serpent's mouths emerges a spirit who wears an ornate headdress, ear spools, and a pectoral, and carries a shield and a spear. 2 bowls or baskets contain instruments of bloodletting as well as bloodied bark paper. One is held by Lady Zhuk, and there is a similar one on the ground from which the vision serpent rises. Blocky hieroglyphic text at the top of the carving identifies specific information about the ritual depicted. Lintel 25 and the stories of the 3 lintels to which it belongs depict scenes from intimate bloodletting rituals and conjuring events performed by the elite in dark sacred spaces. Inscriptions presented through glyphs identifying the date of this bloodletting ritual as October 28, 709 CE, and they note that the purpose was to mark the anniversary of Shil Jaguar's ascension to the throne. Some scholars have suggested that the spirit emerging from the vision serpent represents an ancestral warrior spirit, or perhaps even the founder of the kingdom of Yaxchilan. It might also represent Shil Jaguar. The placement of the lintels above structure 23's central doorway, which marks a transitional or liminal space, parallels the symbolism of the events as well as the symbolism of the vision serpent as a portal between worlds. The conjuring of the vision serpent was likely produced by a combination of blood loss, pain, smoke, and possibly hallucinogens. Presentation of captives to Lord Chan Muan. Room 2 of Structure 1, Bonampak, Mexico, Mayan culture, circa 790 CE. The mural is 17 feet by 15 feet. The important aspects of Mayan culture recorded in the Bonampak mural demonstrate warriors surrounding captives. The artists placed decorated warriors on the top and bottom terraces of the mural. In between 2 tower levels are the captives who are not decorated in clothing. They lie on the stairs. In the top center of the Bonampak mural, a central warlord is holding a staff and seems to be demanding something of a naked and kneeling captive. Below the kneeling captive is a dead captive sprawled out in front of the Lord. Surrounding the dead captive are numerous other naked captives awaiting their deaths by the Lord. Captives were often slaughtered for sacrifice or for the purposes of war. Because of the Bonampak mural was probably not a patron of and approved by Lord Chan Muan himself, the painting offers an eyewitness view to what life was like in Mayan culture at the time. Mayan post-classic aerial view of Chichen Itza, Mexico, Mayan culture circa 800 to 900 CE. Chichen Itza is a complex of Mayan ruins on Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. A massive step pyramid known as El Castillo or Temple of Kukulkan dominates the ancient city, which thrived from 600 AD to the 1200s. Graphic stone carvings survive its structures like the Ball Court, Temple of the Warriors, and the Wall of the Skulls. The town of Chichen Itza was established during the Classic period close to two natural cavities, cenotes, which gave the town its name, at the edge of the well of the Itzas. The cenotes facilitated tapping the underground waters of the area. The second settlement of Chichen Itza, and the most important for historians, corresponded to the migration of Toltec warriors from the Mexican plateau towards the south during the 10th century. According to the most common version, the king of Tula, Quetzalcoatl, or Kukulkan, as a Mayan translated the name, reportedly took the city between 967 AD and 987 AD. Following the conquest of Yucatan, a new style of blending the Maya and Toltec traditions developed, symbolizing the phenomenon of acculturation. Chichen Itza is a clear illustration of this fusion. Specific examples are in the group of buildings to the south, the Caracol, a circular stellar observatory whose spiral staircase accounts for its name, and to the north, El Castillo, also known as the Temple of Kukulkan. Surrounding El Castillo are terraces where the major monumental complexes were built. On the northwest are the Great Ball Court, Sampantli or the Skull Wall, the temple known as the Jaguar Temple, and the House of Eagles. On the northeast are the Temple of the Warriors, the Group of the Thousand Columns, the Market, and the Great Ball Court. On the southwest is the Tomb of the High Priest. After the 13th century, no major monuments seem to have been constructed at Chichen Itza, and the city rapidly declined after around 1440 AD. The ruins were not excavated until 1841 AD. Chichen Itza boasts the largest ball court in the New World, and the rules for the ball game remain obscure, but the games were important rituals that often ended in the death of captured enemies. Castillo, looking southwest, Chichen Itza, Mexico, Mayan culture, circa 800 to 900 CE. Further excavations revealed that it had 9 platforms, a single stairway, and a temple containing human remains, a jade-studded jaguar throne, and a so-called shakmul. The shakmul is a type of Mayan sculpture of an abstract male figure reclining and holding a bowl used as a receptacle for sacrifices. It is considered the world's largest calendar. When the sun sets at spring and the fall equinoxes, the light in combination with the outline of the stone bordering the steep stairs creates a shadow snake undulating up and down the staircase. Each of the 4 sides represents one season with 91 days. Aerial view of the Caracol, looking east, Chichen Itza, Mexico. This is perhaps an ancient astrological observatory. El Caracol, which means snail in Spanish, is so named due to the spiral staircase inside the tower. Maya astronomer priests looked to the heavens for guidance. They used observatories, shadow casting devices, and observations of the horizon to trace the complex motions of the sun, the stars, and planets in order to observe, calculate, and record this information in their chronicles or codices. Classic Veracruz, Pyramid of the Niches, looking northeast, El Tajín, Mexico. Classic Veracruz, 6th century CE. This is the present-day Mexican state of Veracruz. This site boasts many buildings, temples, palaces, and ball courts, but the most impressive of all is the stunning Pyramid of the Niches. The temple was of importance to the people of El Tajín. It once contained exactly 365 niches, which marked its connection to the solar year. There were once 7 levels. 18 special niches represented the 18 months of the Mesoamerican solar calendar. Unlike many other great Mesoamerican temples, which were completed in stages, Pyramid of the Niches in El Tajín seems to have been built all at once. Once completed, the temple itself was painted red, and the niches were painted black, to dramatize the contrast. Toltec. This is colossal Atlantids, Pyramid B, Tula, Mexico. Toltec, circa 900 to 1180 CE. Stone, approximately 16 feet high. They're male warrior statue columns. They're made of 4 stone drums. The breastplate is in the form of an abstract butterfly, which is the symbol of their people, and it did support a roof, which is now gone. Early sites in Andean South America. Enduring understanding. Andean art from Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador relies on shamanistic rituals involving a special veneration for the natural world. Essential knowledge. Geography plays a key role in understanding Andean art. People of the coastal plains often acted individually, those in the mountains united against the elements. The geographic diversity accounts for the differing materials used in the creation of works of art. Most Andean art seems to have been a workshop system whereby many collaborate on a single piece. Most common Andean findings have been in graves. A great many works were done for funerary purposes. Andean art has had an influence on modern European and Latin American artists. Central America and Northern Andes, this is a pendant in the form of a bat-faced man from northeastern Colombia, Tairona, after 1000 CE, Tumbaga, 5 1/4 inches high. The Tairona people of the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta in northern Colombia produced some of the grandest and most complex gold objects ever made in the Americas. This pendant is an excellent example of the skill and virtuosity possessed by Tairona gold workers. Of considerable volume, it depicts a broad-shouldered male figure standing in a confrontational hands-on hip stance. His head is that of a crocodilian or bat. He is wearing an animal mask with a square, toothy snout and a diamond-shaped nose leaf. Covering his head is an enormous headdress that is as tall as the figure itself. It has 2 big beaked birds on the front of its cap and elaborate side pieces with detailed spiral and braided elements. The figure may portray a ruler, a supernatural ancestor, or a shaman in the state of symbolic and spiritual transformation, in which its features assume those of a helping animal spirit. A powerful image such as this one would have been worn by an individual who was himself powerful in Tairona society. The pendant was cast of Tumbaga by the lost wax process. Its surface was subsequently enriched by the depletion method, also known as mise en couleur. Hummingbird, Nazca Plain, Peru, Nazca people, circa 500 CE. There are dark layers of pebbles scraped aside to reveal lighter clay and calcite beneath. Geoglyphs are very large drawings traced on the desert near the modern town of Nazca, first brought this culture to public attention. The Nazca lines depict animals such as fish, reptiles, birds, and monkeys, geometrical designs, and human figures. Some of the drawings are 100 meters or more in length and can only be seen without distortion from the air. Their meaning and function are still debated, but are thought to be linked to the location of aquifers and springs. The Nazca selectively removed the dark top layer of stones to expose the light clay and calcite below. The lines seem to be paths laid out using simple stone and string methods. They plotted the whole terrain of Nazca material and spiritual concerns. This is a bridge-spouted vessel with flying figures from the Nazca River Valley, Peru. Nazca, circa 50 to 200 CE, painted ceramic 5.5 inches high. The iconography and symbolism represented by the Nazca lines are mirrored on polychrome pottery and textiles, with motifs portraying local fauna and plants, scenes related to subsistence activities, supernatural beings, and deities associated with water and agricultural fertility. Water was vital for Nazca's subsistence, which depended mainly on a diet of maize. The rivers were not a reliable source to sustain the levels needed to feed the local population, and a network of irrigation canals made it possible to practice intensive agriculture. The innovative techniques and aesthetic qualities of Nazca polychrome ceramics make them quite unique in the Andean region. They are most commonly made by coiling. Slip was then applied, and the vessel was fired and burnished to a characteristic glossy finish. Nazca painters often represented religious practitioners impersonating deities in sacred rituals. Some of the impersonators, like the Paracas flying figures, hold trophy heads and weapons. This is an ear ornament from Saipan, Peru, Moche, circa 300 CE. It's made of gold and turquoise, 4 4/5 inches in diameter. It's an ear ornament. It was found in a Saipan tomb. It depicts a Moche warrior priest with 2 retainers. The 2 retainers appear in profile to the left and right of the central figure. He carries a war club and a shield and wears a necklace of owl head beads. The figure's characteristics match the actual finds in a warrior priest's tomb. Early Native American sites in North America. Enduring understanding. North American Indians have undergone widespread persecution and cultural reshaping since the arrival of Europeans. Essential knowledge. Many interdisciplinary sources are used to piece together the major monuments of Native North Americans. Archaeology, oral and written history, documents, and museum records form the basis of North American Indian research. Enduring understanding, modern Native Americans maintain active cultural identities today. Essential knowledge. There is no uniform naming structure for the original people of this area. In addition to traditional North American materials and techniques used in artwork, such as weaving, basketry, wood, bone, hides, and ceramic, objects that have been traded with outsiders, beads, ribbons, have become part of the Indian artistic experience. Many motifs, such as animals and geometric designs, appear in North American art. Respect for nature, religion, and elders are dominant themes. Art was created mostly for groups, as the patrons were likely important tribal leaders. Artists worked in groups in an apprentice-type relationship. Native North American art has had a minimal impact on European and American styles. However, a revival movement has invigorated cultural traditions and opened them up to a wider market. This is a burial mask from Point Hope, Alaska. This is 100 CE ivory. Greatest width is 9.5 inches. It is decorative. It consists of 9 parts that are hinged together and can be combined to produce several faces, echoing the transformation theme common in ancient American art. It's small due to the nomadic culture. It's made from walrus ivory. It would be placed on the face of a shaman who can provide prophecies and benefits. Scary because this person can be powerful. The mask is put on after they die, before they are buried. Danger in terms of the good spirit escaping and bad things reanimating the corpse. When ready to bury the shaman, you remove the mask and bury it by the knees, and the danger is going away when they're buried. It's decorative. They have a simulation of eyes, other eyes, smaller face at the top, the mouth, and the nose. The oval shape with the horizontal ribs are bugs. They're blowfly larvae, and they're associated at the nostril. Associated with the earth and stage-based life and transformation, they're transforming into butterflies. It probably would have also been painted and more decorated. This is the Serpent Mound, Ohio, Mississippian art, circa 1070 CE. 1,200 feet long and 20 feet wide by 5 feet high. Mississippian art of an increase in agriculture meant a population boom as sustained communities evolved in fertile areas. Eastern Native Americans were mound builders and created an impressive series of earthworks that survive in great numbers even today. Huge mound complexes such as Cahokia, Illinois, were impressive city-states that governed wide areas. Other mounds, such as the Great Serpent Mound, were built in effigy shapes of uncertain meaning. Many of these mounds have baffled archaeologists because they clearly could not have been fully appreciated from the air or a high vantage point, which mound builders did not possess. This serpent mound was not built at once. It was enlarged and changed over many years. Effigy mounds are popular in Mississippian culture. Maybe it was influenced by comets, maybe astrological phenomenon. Head pointed to summer solstice at sunset. Rattlesnake is a symbol in Mississippian iconography. Could this have played a role in interpreting this mound? Snakes are associated with crop fertility. There are no burials or temples associated with this mound. Theory that it could be representation of Halley's Comet in 1066. This is an incised gorget with running warrior from Sumner County, Tennessee, Mississippian cultures, circa 1250 to 1300 CE, made of shell 4 inches wide. It was a necklace, was a gift to the dead to ensure safe passage to the afterlife. The figure is in composite view and wears jewelry and nice clothes. The warrior holds a mace in one hand and a severed human head in the other. The gorgets are frequently engraved and are sometimes highlighted with pigments or fenestrated, pierced with openings. They are believed to have been insignia of status or rank, either civic, military, or religious, or amulets of protective medicine. They are due to the placement of the holes in the gorgets. They are also thought to be spinners that could produce whistling sounds. This is Pueblo Bonito, Chaco Canyon, New Mexico, ancestral Puebloan, mid-9th to mid-11th century CE. The Pueblo Bonito is amongst the largest and most completely excavated archaeological site in the U.S. Southwest. It encompasses approximately 600 masonry rooms up to 4 stories in height, as well as around 37 semi-subterranean masonry-lined structures known as kivas, which were probably used primarily for ritual activities. At Pueblo Bonito, new construction ceased and many rooms were abandoned. Archaeologists agreed that due to climatic change, the resources needed to organize these social gatherings were no longer available, and so the regional system declined. In addition to the drought and marauding enemy theories, scientists suggest that things like poor sanitation, pests, and environmental degradation may have caused the Anasazi to move. Cliff Palace, Mesa Verde National Park, Colorado, ancestral Puebloan. The Cliff Palace. The ancient Native American village of Mesa Verde, Colorado features numerous ruins built by ancient Pueblo people known as the Anasazi. The Anasazi made this stone dwelling, the Cliff Palace, their home in the 1200s. Ancestral Puebloans occupied the Mesa Verde region from about 450 CE to 1300 CE. The inhabited region encompassed a far larger geographic area than is defined now by the national park and included other residential sites like Hovenweep National Monument and Yellow Jacket Pueblo. Not all ancestral Puebloans lived in cliff dwellings. Yellow Jacket Pueblo was much larger than any site at Mesa Verde. It had 600 to 1,200 rooms and 700 people likely lived there. In contrast, only 125 people lived in the Cliff Palace, the largest of the Mesa Verde sites. The cliff dwellings are, however, certainly among the best preserved buildings from this time. Reflection: how is the architecture of the Pyramid Plaza complex is similar across Mesoamerican cultures? What was the function of fine textiles and pottery in the Andean cultures? What do you speculate are the purposes of the South American Nazca drawings and the Serpent Mound of North America? What are their most important similarities and differences? Many people collect Native American art today. To what factors do you attribute this popularity? End.